Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Mastering DORA, Legal Security and Tech Insights for Financial Institutions and Crypto Institutions. My name is Akvilė Jurkaitytė. I am Associate in Finance and Insurance team at Sorainen Vilnius, and I'm delighted to be moderator today as we explore what critical piece of legislation that is set to transform the landscape of digital operations within the financial sector. In the era where digital threats are ever evolving, the European Union's introduction of DORA marks a significant milestone in ensuring the resilience and security of financial institutions. I would say that digital technologies become more integrated in our financial systems, meaning that safeguarding them is now not only a priority, it's a necessity. I'm sure those who are participating today are quite aware of the importance of DORA, but just to share my thoughts with the increasing complexity and frequency of cyber threats, DORA's emphasis on proactive risk management and resilience is timely and essential. It ensures that financial entities are prepared to withstand and recover from operational disruptions. And this, I would say, is maintaining stability and confidence in the financial markets and hopefully as well in crypto sector when the markets and crypto assets regulation will be in full force. Compliance with DORA is not just about regulatory adherence, it's about building a robust defense against the ever-present threats in this digital landscape. So today in the webinar with our beautiful guests, we will cover the changing regulatory landscape of cybersecurity requirements. We'll share thoughts and recommendations on ensuring clients' ICT risk and security management systems and compliant with DORA. Highlight the main aspects of security in different domains to ensure proper security management and compliance, and cover the best practices for aligning IT infrastructure and solution architecture with DORA requirements, focusing on how to build resilient, secure, and compliant systems that support ongoing regulatory adherence. Of course, there will be an opportunity to ask your questions, but let me first introduce our speakers. Today we have two representatives from Sorainen, Agneta Rumpa, Senior Associate at Sorainen, Latvia. Agneta is working in finance and insurance group and is passionate about the financial technology as well as crypto asset sector. We have also Mihkel Miidla, partner at Sorainen, Estonia. Mihkel is heading technology, media and telecommunication sector in Estonia and is all about data protection, cybersecurity, novel technology and innovative products. We also have guests from Baltic Amadeus, Tomas Stamulis, head of the Information Security Department at Baltic Amadeus. Tomas is information security expert and works in the field for over more than 10 years. He helps clients to improve their information security and implement security controls following regulation and security standards. And last but not least, Nerijus Pažereckas, currently working as head of architecture at Baltic Amadeus, but also working as solution technology and cloud architect for more than 10 years in the various business domains like banking, energy, transportation, and other. Each speaker brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in digital resilience and regulatory compliance, so they will share their insights and of course answer your questions, helping you to navigate the complexities of DORA. We encourage you to actively participate throughout the session. Please use the Q&A feature to submit your questions and of course feel free to share your thoughts and experiences. Our goal is to make this webinar as informative and engaging as possible. By the end of our session, we hope you will have a clear understanding of DORA and be equipped with the tools and knowledge to enhance your organization's digital resilience. Thank you for joining us today as we make this important step towards a more secure and resilient financial ecosystem. So let's dive into the world of DORA, and I give the floor to Mihkel Miidla.
Thank you, Akvilė. So before we actually go in depth into DORA, my role here today is talk a little bit about the wider background in the EU cybersecurity regulatory sphere. And just like with any kind of legal act, any kind of legislative developments, the most important questions or the first question that lawyers should ask, and also those persons who are interpreting the law, is what are actually the purposes? Why do we have this legal act? Why do we need this regulation? And then this is kind of from the cybersecurity regulatory point of view in the European Union. These are some of the more important points. I'm not saying this is a fully exhaustive list, but it will help to understand why do we have such, let's say, regulations. Why do we have so many changes, new regulation coming out? Starting with the first one, the purpose of counteracting the increasing cyber threats. From one end, it's quite self-evident what purpose. On the other hand, as let's say technology enthusiast, I know, and then it's commonly known that technology and cyber threats will always evolve much quicker than legislator can ever catch up. So what we're seeing in the regulations is actually a collection of best practices, how to handle these threats, and mostly it is rather technology neutral approach. And yeah, it's not in line with common sense to try to regulate everything in very detailed manner in legal acts. So the key word here is really the best practices. It's about risks. It's about proportionality. Protecting critical infrastructure, I think that's also quite clear. Safeguarding personal data, very clear links with cybersecurity. Everyone is aware of GDPR, which also requires to implement certain appropriate security measures to mitigate the risks. From EU point of view, having a digital single market and enhancing trust, I think these can be looked together, so that eventually when one is using services in one member state or the other, the level of security is there and similar all across the single market. Another trend that we're seeing is also the EU's attempt to regulate emerging technologies. We're especially the hot topic right now, of course, is the AI Act, which is pretty much a word first, but also other spheres like Internet of Things is getting more and more regulated. Improving international cooperation and creating a framework for incident response. I think here the idea is also quite clear. If one were to imagine the internet as such, it's absolutely different from the political map. So internet doesn't have such boundaries, and having these cooperation possibilities for oversight within the single market. This is all these are very good legislative aims. So overall, yes, the idea is to create a more secure, resilient, and trustworthy digital environment. Moving on. So what is this huge wave of regulations that we are seeing currently, and then what we have seen in the last 5 years or so? First off, I also marked down here the GDPR. As mentioned, it has information security say requirements or obligations already enacted. We are currently seeing NIS2 directive, which is to be implemented by October 24. It will replace the current NIS1 directive. Then there is the CER directive, which is the Critical Entities Resilience Directive, also to be implemented by member states by October 2024. This one is more about the physical resilience of critical entities. Then in the works is currently Cyber Resilience Act. This relates actually more to any kinds of products or services with digital elements, how to bring them to the market. Then we have the EU Cybersecurity Act, which is effective already from 2019, but currently in the process of being amended. And the amendment actually relates to possibilities for certifying managed security services. Also in the works currently is Cyber Solidarity Act, which is basically also an initiative to improve the overall preparedness to various cyber threats. These are the let's say main regulatory acts, but we are also we cannot ignore other relevant acts which are maybe not that directly regulate cybersecurity requirements, but still are relevant. And of course, we have various sector-based legal acts which may bring more and more specific requirements, like the Radio Equipment Directive, Machinery Regulation, Medical Devices Regulation, whatnot. And then we have the DORA, which is more specifically than applicable to financial institutions and regulated crypto entities. The trends being that the cybersecurity regulation and landscape is expanding in scope. More and more sectors are captured one way or the other to the regulatory sphere of the legal acts visible on this slide. And what we're also seeing is as a trend is this ever-expanding extraterritorial effect of EU legislation. We started seeing this already with the GDPR, and then it's also not missing. This element is also not missing from DORA, especially or particularly in relation to critical third-party ICT service providers, so that do not have EU presence. Of course, having that many different legal acts creates a bunch of legal uncertainties. There is some overlap. There are conflicting requirements. And to briefly illustrate that, for example, DORA versus the GDPR, it will be good to know that they will be effective in parallel. And DORA creates actually no derogations from the requirements of the GDPR, meaning that all the let's say security requirements required by the GDPR appropriate to the risk to data subjects still has to be met. When under DORA, we are working with, let's say, third-party ICT service providers, we probably cannot forget the requirements of Article 28 from the GDPR, which deals with data protection agreements between controllers and processors. And with the other issue with having several legal instruments in parallel is that there is let's say, more realistic danger of being subjected to cumulative supervisory proceedings should anything happen. Then DORA versus NIS2. here I think it's important to know if you are captured also by NIS2, then anything that is in DORA that is in conflict with NIS2 requirements, DORA requirements will override and are regarded as lex specialis. Okay, but then last but not least, I think what the challenge that the primary challenge that or challenges that we're facing is that the regulatory complexity is rather high. It's difficult to navigate it, and it kind of creates the basis of having a very siloed approach, so that where one team is working with GDPR, one is working with DORA, one is working with other sector-specific requirements. So these teams kind of need to start talking to each other, and then there needs to be kind of, let's say, an integrated approach to achieving compliance in the cybersecurity sphere. And lastly, what will make this more difficult is it's very clear that there is a lack of specialists in these fields all across the EU. But from here on, I will actually give the word to my colleague Agneta, who will then talk and go more in depth to the requirements of DORA. Thank you.
Hello. It is a pleasure, although a challenge, to speak of this, I would say, quite challenging topic, which is going to create quite a few, hopefully not headaches, but interesting new tasks for not only financial institutions and us lawyers, but to many, many more. But so let's try and dissect this mysterious new regulation, DORA, and get into more detail. So hopefully you can see my slides, and this first one, I just could not resist. DORA is a very helpful regulation, as it tempts at least me to make a lot of puns about this. And what I was trying to do is I asked AI tools to generate an image which is relating to this famous cartoon character Dora the Explorer. Thankfully, AI does not allow breaking copyright rules, so I could not specifically get that, but I did get a girl that is somewhat hopefully resembling this character. But if we are getting serious, and I would say DORA does give a lot of reasons to be serious, this is the first comprehensive and I would say overreaching regulation when it comes to financial institutions and when it comes to their ICT, or that is information communication technology requirements, or we can also call it cybersecurity, although it extends a little bit outside of cybersecurity. And the main reason for this specific act is European Union regulators came to a conclusion that it is not sufficient for financial institutions to only manage their financial risks, which was as a consequence of the 2008 challenges, but also considering the political climate and all other new developments, that cybersecurity should actually be one of the main priorities. And this is why DORA was adopted, why it's already actually in force, and we will have to comply with it. So who should actually care about this topic? Of course, we already tried to hint it during our marketing materials about the webinar. Basically, it is most of the financial institutions. Our webinar is also specifically aimed at crypto asset service providers, which are the new type of financial institution regulated under the MiCA regulation. But other than that, of course, banks and payment institutions and electronic money institutions, the payment service providers are covered. And then also other types of financial institutions are concerned by DORA regulation. And what is, I would say, quite novel about DORA, and what Mihkel also already mentioned, also the service providers to the financial institutions, so ICT service providers, should actually learn more about DORA. What is an ICT provider? I would say that DORA is very broad in this regard, as basically anything you can think of, starting from simple matters such as, let's say, Microsoft could be considered as an ICT service provider, as it ensures platforms for most companies these days, up to cloud service providers. So basically almost any type of technology is covered under DORA. The only things that are left out are traditional landline phones. So this is, I would say, the most scary slide of the presentation. As we go on, it will get slightly better, and I do not expect you to be able to read this. It is more of a representation of what DORA actually changes. So this is a table that lists all of the regulated financial entities and main acts regulating these entities in the EU. So we have the payment service providers under PSD2, and so on and so on. Then on this first column, where there is more text, it mentions what type of ICT requirements are actually there. And so the green squares on this, let's call it a map, are what type of requirements are already in place for the financial institutions. However, the notably larger red part is what was not covered so far, and what actually DORA does change for all of these financial institutions. This map, we have a link to this map available as well. So once we share the slides, you will be able to go into a bit more detail. Now, of course, when it comes to new regulations, time is of the essence. And here we should note the following. So the first thing is, as I mentioned, DORA is already in force. The second thing is that DORA is applicable as of the start of next year, 17th of January to be specific. This leaves us with about half a year to be able to implement all of the requirements underlying coming out of DORA. But this is, I would say, more of a theoretical response to the question when DORA starts applying. Because as of now, we do have the regulation, but there is a significant amount of second-level regulation that is still not fully adopted. So there will be EU-level acts, delegated regulations, or otherwise they are also called as regulatory technical standards, that will need still to be adopted. Draft of part of this regulation is already available. It was published at the start of this year. However, still a significant amount of this regulation is not even published yet, and it will only be published in about 1 month. So obviously from this follows that certain of these requirements, I would say, will not be realistic to implement by the start of next year. But of course, financial institutions and their ICT providers will be expected to do their best. So if we dissect the regulation and try to put it into very simple building blocks or pillars, we could split it in 5 parts. So one, which is, I would say, the kind of the underlying pillar, is the ICT risk management. So DORA outlines what type of risk management system will now be expected of the financial institutions. The second part is ICT incident management, and that includes also classification of these incidents and reporting requirements. Further on, there will be stress testing, so digital operational resilience testing. This is also where the title DORA comes from, and which is a part which is probably most interesting for lawyers, but quite challenging, as I've heard already from the financial sector participants, is this management of ICT third-party risk. So basically managing all the arrangements financial institutions have with their ICT service providers. And finally, some presentations I've heard about DORA mentioned this, some do not focus on this too much, but I would say it's quite important. One of the principles of DORA is actually information sharing insofar as it is possible between financial institutions, but most importantly, possibly information sharing with the regulators. Now, that being said, another thing to consider, and which should, I hope it will alleviate the worry about this regulation when it comes to smaller financial institutions, is, of course, DORA is supposed to work in a proportionate manner. So the types of new arrangements, the types of new systems that a financial institution is supposed to implement should be proportionate to this very institution, to its size, to its complexity, to the complexity of its services, and especially considering the types of ICT services the institution even uses. And the proportionality works in several steps. First step is that actually certain types of financial institutions, the smaller ones, are entirely excluded from the scope of DORA. The next level, so to say, is there are types of institutions that have some but not all DORA requirements, and finally, even those institutions that are subject to full DORA requirements, even they, of course, have to develop their documentation and systems and so on in a manner that is proportionate. Now, the ICT risk management system, which I mentioned, is probably the starting building block for the whole regulation and compliance with this regulation. This is something that experienced financial institutions are already familiar with, and also something that is not entirely new. It will be more new to the new market participants, especially crypto asset service providers that have become regulated just very recently. But even for the existing market participants, DORA brings some novelties when it comes to ICT risk management system. First of all, you have to develop a specific and comprehensive digital operational resilience strategy that does work in line with also the other business strategy and other documentation of the company. And the other, I would say, which is legally relevant aspect, is that responsibility for this whole risk management system is directly placed upon the management of the company. So it will not be sufficient to, let's say, designate an ICT risk management officer or something like that and say that you have covered all your bases. The managers of the company will bear the ultimate responsibility. Thankfully, when it comes to ICT risk management, we already do have draft regulatory technical standards published. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I would encourage you to go to these standards. I have included a link in our presentation. The next important part of DORA requirements is the ICT incident management classification and reporting. I will let our presentation partners from Baltic Amadeus to maybe comment a bit more into detail about practicalities of this when it comes for the legal side of things. Again, here the company, the financial institution, will need to document their ICT incident management, how they are doing it. They will also have to develop a system how they classify ICT incidents, and this classification will be important for potential reporting of the incidents. So because of DORA, actually financial institutions will be expected to notify most significant incidents to their supervisory authority. Again, here we do have draft regulatory technical standards available. Now, digital operational resilience testing, I would say for me as a lawyer, this is an entirely challenging topic, so I will not dwell too much here, and let our colleagues comment on that. And however, I would like to spend some time on the managing of ICT third-party risks, because this is probably, if you are considering testing your existing systems and finding if you need to implement something more, this is probably where we as lawyers can actually come in and help. So a very important aspect of DORA is now to approach the existing and future third-party arrangements with ICT service providers in a systematic manner. And how that will look is that one thing is that all of the existing contracts that you have with ICT service providers should actually be reviewed, audited, and made sure that that the contract requirements actually comply with what DORA provides. This is one part. The other part is that there should be a register where the institution keeps a list of all of their third-party arrangements and identifies these are our ICT service providers, these are the critical ones, these are the not critical ones, and already this register, it sounds simple enough, and first time I heard it, I visualized it as an Excel table, but it seems that it will be slightly more complicated because actually financial institutions will need to have several registers in place. One is for these non-critical ICT providers, the other one is for critical ones, and then also there will need to be separate lists for the company level and also on the group level. So I hope you have already started drafting the lists, and if not, you can reach out and we can help with that. Here again, we do have the regulatory technical standards. And now, as I mentioned, there is a principle that information about the incidents especially should be shared. This is probably kind of a novel actually concept, and the main reason behind this is that cyber threats are ever evolving, ever increasing, and ever becoming more and more challenging. So the only way how to tackle them is to approach them jointly. I see that time is going forward very, very fast, so I will try to wrap up in a couple of minutes and just note a couple of matters which are again legal. So DORA does focus a lot, again, of course, not just on what the financial institutions need to develop policies, procedures, risk management system, etc., but also how this will be checked. And so the supervisory authorities will actually have the need to have access to the company data and the documents. There will be on-site inspections and investigations, and in case there are any issues, the supervisory authorities, of course, can require remediation of any issues. Let's say in Latvia, where I'm practicing in, the regulator already at the end of last year published their agenda for inspecting and auditing financial institutions, and actually ICT risks and ICT compliance matters were among the top priorities for the upcoming year. Of course, this year nobody will check if the company is entirely ready for DORA, but of course, as the time progresses, this will become more and more relevant. Now we actually did receive already some questions about our as a part of our webinar, and one of this was about the sanctions. The DORA regulation does not specify specific sanctions because this will be dealt on the member state level. And I would, let's say in Latvia, we don't really know what the final penalties will be available, but generally this should be something to be quite cautious about, because DORA does mention that sanctions can be in the type of administrative and even criminal penalties if the local member states decide that this is appropriate. So to wrap up, what are some practical steps that you can take to make sure that you are or become compliant with all these new requirements is as follows. We could split this into phases, and the first phase of that again has several steps. So of course, first of all, you should check what you already have in place. So to sort of say, make an internal audit. Then again, then you also need to educate yourself about what DORA actually means for your company. I hope we have managed to and will manage to help with that as well during this webinar. Then you need to compare your existing arrangements with what you have learned, what are the actually required arrangements as of now, and then prepare those arrangements and introduce them, let's say, as new policies, procedures, but also, of course, all the technical aspects that Baltic Amadeus colleagues will go into more detail very shortly. And then as you continue the operations, of course, it is an ever-evolving issue, cybersecurity, as I already mentioned. So the next stage is trying to protect the institution against cybersecurity risks, prevent those, and in case something happens, learn from that and evolve. And I would actually say that companies that manage to do this in a good manner can probably even monetize their know-how and share it to the extent possible with other financial institutions. So in case we have raised your interest about DORA, definitely do feel free to reach out. As lawyers, we definitely can help with the documentation side of things. First of all, we can make this gap analysis between what you do have at your institution and what you should have, help you with developing this ICT framework, and all the underlying policies and procedures and so on. Also, we, of course, as a full service law firm, we are available to assist on other matters as well. And now to give the floor to our colleagues from Baltic Amadeus, I would just like to stress that we are aware that DORA is a very cross-sectoral challenge. So it may be best approach to once you get serious about implementing all these new requirements in place, to actually reach out to legal as well as technical or ICT type of advice, and that would probably be companies like Baltic Amadeus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agneta. Thank you, Mihkel, for a very interesting intro into this beautiful world of DORA. We already had some questions before the webinar, and Agneta, if I may ask, what is the status of financial provider in Lithuania? In Latvia? Sorry, what's your view on this?
Sure. So financial institution, I would expect that this question comes from either in terms of DORA or not. But let's say if we do not think just simply about DORA, financial institutions are most easily identified looking at the Latvia's Banka or Bank of Latvia website, which has the list of all financial institutions it supervises, starting from insurance entities up to, let's say, banks. And also separately, there are consumer credit providers, and those lists can be available on the website of our Consumer Rights Protection Authority. Now, if we are talking about DORA, financial institutions that are concerned about that should be covered by DORA are actually mentioned in the regulation. I believe it was either Article 3 or one of the first articles of the regulation. So feel free to look up the list. And if you're still not certain, again, you can reach out to us and ask if your company is covered.
Thank you. Thank you, Agneta. Mihkel, very nice presentation on interplay and how to start with DORA. What do you believe are the main three aspects to focus on in terms of DORA? Put aside other regulations that are playing along.
It's a little bit like with any kind of compliance exercise, right? So first off, looking at the timeline, you better start now. If you're not already have started, then start now. And leaders should acknowledge that it's clearly their responsibility to start or initiate this process. And then from there on, once you start, of course, it's the second point is always like identify the gaps and then have an action plan. And then thirdly, in this, let's say, regulatory complexity, let's say entities and then the organizations really need to start they need to start looking into this as a, let's say, interconnected or holistic exercise. And then you cannot simply have, as I already mentioned, separate silos that don't communicate with each other. So yeah, I guess have a product owner for cybersecurity compliance, and then that person should have, let's say, enough authority to speak with anyone they need to in order to do their job, and also commit appropriate amount of resources for this exercise. I think these are the most important kind of points to keep in mind when starting.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mihkel. Thanks, Agneta. Now let's give the floor to our colleagues from Baltic Amadeus, and I invite Tomas to share about DORA and security insights there. Please, Tomas.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to this event. And today I will help you or present you how to ensure security following DORA regulation. The main goal of DORA is to improve the cybersecurity and operation resiliency in financial sector and unify security and risk management requirements of network and information systems and supporting business processes. DORA sets out that entities must do, but do not say how it should be done. You can use ISO 27000 family standards, security controls, or other best security and IT practices to support implementation of DORA. DORA will apply from next year, and almost 2 years gone from the adopted it. So it's not a lot of time left, and we have to stop wasting our time and move forward and do activities to ensure compliance with DORA. What we should do, as Mihkel mentioned before, we have to perform gap analysis. We must identify the places, the processes, the systems, and other tools where we should have to improve it and where should improve their security to ensure compliance with DORA, to ensure security of our information. Also, after that, we have to prepare a roadmap where is defined exact tasks of what should be done by what person, who will be responsible for that. You could have a project manager or coordinator of implementation who will be responsible for that, but you could not assign all activities to one person. It's too much, it's complex work, it's a big work, and the team of different responsibilities like lawyers, IT administrators, information system administrators, process owners, and other staff members should ensure proper implementation of identified gaps. One person can't know everything and can't implement everything at all. If you will put it on one person, so it's a sign that everything will be wrong. Before the starting the implementation, and when you assign the roles, you have to train persons. They have not only know DORA requirements, they have not be familiar with DORA, they must be trained to know how exactly we have to implement process, what we have to upgrade, what we have to improve, but also it should not disrupt the business activities. It also should not disrupt other systems or something. So it should be done carefully and with knowledge. If you don't have experience, as our partners Sorainen mentioned, you could ask help from different parts, from external parts, from your partners, from legal, from IT, or from consultants. They will help you to how to improve it correctly. Once you train your staff, next you have to identify information assets, identify processes, systems, tools, and security tools, which should be changed to implement security requirements, DORA requirements. And after that, when you know exact places what should be changed, you have to define, approve, and implement different policies and procedures. When it's approved, then you are moving to implementation stage. So you have to do a lot of work to ensure that the process is going how it should be done. If it goes wrong and not how you expect, you can change and update it. It's not written in the stone, so you could update your procedures different way, ensuring the same compliance with DORA. Identification step is very important because you have to identify your business activities. You have to categorize them. You have to know which processes is crucial for you and which processes supports them. If you don't know, so you could spend a lot of money ensuring whole company security, whole data security, but not give as much resources as needed to crucial processes and crucial information. So the main thing is to identify activities, categorize them, then map with information assets and ICT assets. Then you will know what ICT assets is crucial, whether you have to invest, where you have to back up, or more, or maybe give more attention to performance and so on. So the most important for all of us must be critical services. When you know, sometimes when you identify your activities, you will get you will understand that the processes which you think that it's not important, it is crucial for you because we support critical business activities. And if they stop, you stop your providing services and you could stop your earning money. So it's very important to identify all map of activities, rely it with information assets, IT assets, and as DORA required, you have to have information asset register and also ICT asset register, map it with each other, also map it with business activities, and then after you know that if one system stops, what business processes will stop. And also, if you map it with third parties, you could identify which third parties is crucial for you, which impact of third party is crucial for you, and if the third party will stop providing various services or disrupt various services, how it will change or impact your business activities. So it's very important to have identified information assets, business activities, and third parties, as mentioned colleagues before. Next step, which is very important, is to define information security policies and procedures. When you know the information security policy is one of the main documents which set out the security requirements for the whole company, which set out requirements how you will ensure security for different assets, how should your staff manage information, classify information, how access to your data is granted or removed. So everything is mostly, all requirements mostly will be written in the information security policy. Another thing is very important to improve policy following risk assessment procedures. When you assess risks, you identify your crucial places where risk level is quite high. You have to define additional security measures to implement and to decrease the level of risk. So after that, you will have proper ICT security risk framework in your company. I can't answer which security measures is necessary for you at this moment and what you have to implement, but in general, when you perform all assessments, when you perform risk assessments, you get this information and you identify the gaps where you have to improve it. Also, you have to prepare a lot of other procedures like business continuity plan, like ICT operation management procedure, incident management procedure, or logging and monitoring procedure. There is a list, not final list. You have to improve a lot of things and document a lot of processes, but it always helps you to ensure proper security level. When the document is only in the practice in the company, when stuff is changing, processes also could be changed, and they could change in the bad way. Some things could be missed, and you will not be compliant to DORA from that. So when the document is written and the process is written, newcomers know how they should work. Old guys also know that they knows the best way, but the company's stakeholders knows how everybody should work and how they have to do their activities. Also, the main other pillar which is very important is ICT incident management. You have to define procedures and implement tools to ensure effective incident response from detection of anomaly till the end of incident response. So from the beginning till the end, you have to describe how you will manage incidents, how you document incidents, how you categorize, why you categorize in that way, where you document. It is on the Excel sheet, it is on the Jira system or another ticketing system, or maybe SharePoint or somewhere else. So DORA do not define where you have to document your incidents. DORA asks you to ensure proper management of incidents. So you have to define roles and responsibilities of this process. Everybody should know what they have to do if incident was identified. You have to describe tools which is used to detect incidents and anomalies. You have to define different roles or different levels of different incident management. So if it is physical incident, one guy is responsible. If it is security, ICT security incident or operational incident, it's responsibility of other teams. So if everything is written and documented, everybody knows what we have to do. The main thing is not only document, but also internal and external communication, reporting to stakeholders and supervisors. There was not a lot of cases when regulators warns or fines financial institutions because they did not provide information about incident on time. And there was in Lithuania some cases when the Bank of Lithuania get information find information in public resources and asks their banks to provide information what is happening and what they are doing to ensure their security and ensure business continuity. So it's very important to report on time, report to internal and external stuff, and they have to know what is happening during the incident. You don't have to inform them at the beginning stage of the incident if you don't know that this incident is major. So you have escalation procedures when, who will be informed, and also next final step, which is very important, is lessons learned. We have to learn from our incidents, from our lessons. We have to learn from other authorities' incidents, and we have to improve our security situation according to them. If we define or implement additional security measure, we have to rely it with incident. And if somebody someday asks why this measure was implemented, you will always know that it's according to that or that incident. Next case, which is next pillar, which is very important, is digital operational resilience testing program. It could look like a new thing, but in general, definition is new, but security activities no. I guess that all of you perform vulnerability assessments, internal or external security audits, security architecture assessments. Maybe not everybody conducts physical security assessment or performance testing, but in general, I think that you care your security and you provide different security tests. So this program should define how and in which ways you ensure your security and you improve your security. Digital operational resilience program, or it's continuous work. You can't stop when you do some tests and say, yes, at this moment we are finished, we implement some measures and so on. No, you have continuously implement security measures and continuously assess their effectiveness and continuously assess your security status. And if you do it, your clients will know that their data, their money is safe, and they will, and you will not damage your reputation. So reputation is quite important thing, and If the company with a low reputation, usually the client changes it to different companies, because in these days when there are a lot of electronic money institutions, there are a lot of banks, we could open the account in different banks and easily. So it is quite easy to change our service provider. So you have to ensure your security proper. You have to assess and implement security measures regularly. Maybe a new thing is for some of you advanced penetration testing based on TLPT, but EBA and other authorities have prepared RTS on advanced penetration testing, so it's quite clear how it should be conducted and what outcome and what process of it is. So if you are one of the company which should conduct advanced testing, you will have to read and prepare other process for the advanced testing. A lot of things you will copy paste from the RTS, but it's not only document. You have to implement it in the practically also. The last pillar from the ICT third-party management is the last pillar is third-party management, and it's quite important thing, because if we talk about security, it's not only about company stuff. It's also about third parties, which is related with your services, which provide ICT services, which provide ICT products, and so on. So we have to ensure your security as well as you're ensuring by yourself. You have to define requirements. You have to put it in the contractual arrangements. If you don't do it, we will not implement them. If something happens, the main responsibility is in your company. You can't ask something from the ICT service provider if you didn't not put it in the contractual arrangement. They will say that it's not written, so we're not supposed to do it. Also, what you have to do, and which is very important, to not only provide initial assessment of your third party, you have to regularly evaluate how they implement your security requirements, how they implement security measures to protect your data in their infrastructure, how they manage stuff which works with your data, with your information. So it's very important to ensure that all third parties, ICT service providers, ensure proper level as you. Next thing, which is very important, is exit strategies. You know, there are a lot of companies, ICT companies, and we can change and switch them from one to another, and we can buy some services from one and another company. But if it relies with our critical business activities, we have to know how we will switch to another ICT service provider, or how we ensure our business activity if ICT service provider bankrupt or disrupt their services. So we have to have exit strategies, and we have to be prepared to the worst scenario. If something happens, what we have to do to ensure our business activities. Another thing which is very important, so as I mentioned before, we have to implement everything. We have to improve our systems. We have to improve our security architecture or some security tools, because some of them at this moment could ensure security requirements to detect, to log information according to incident, and so on. So we have not only put on the paper procedures, we have to put in the practice. We have to assign roles, assign responsibilities to our staff members. We have to assign some responsibilities to third parties, and we have to know what we have to do if something happens, or we have to know how we have to improve security. We have to adopt current systems according to requirements. We have also identify and implement additional ICT tools, solutions, our systems, or security tools. So we have implement process from the beginning till the end. And if we do it, we know that everything is secure. We have to have trained staff. They have to know what we have to do and how it should done. Usually, there are a lot of incidents from the human error. If we train it, if we learn every day, if we will be educated by senior staff, they do their activities in best way. So don't forget train everybody, especially management. Management has a lot of access. Their decisions are also important to the whole company. So they have to be trained also. They have to know their responsibilities. And some takeaways from my side. So DORA compliance implementation, not one-man show. We have to put it to assign whole team for different responsibilities to ensure proper implementation. Split activities and responsibilities. Do not ask a project manager to define risk assessment procedure. Management support is crucial because if you don't have management support, you can't implement properly any security measure. All implementation of DORA requirements must be approved and with big support of management. Management should understand why it is needed, why it is necessary. You could provide information about fines. You could provide information about business disruption, stopping earning money, or something else. But they have to understand that it's necessary to do to ensure security. It's not cheap, but without security, other procedures will stop and you will lose a lot of money. Only 7 months left till deadline, so we have to hurry up. And as I mentioned before, digital operational resilience is continuous activity. You have not to stop when you reach one or other milestone. It's continuous work. You have to continuously update processes, continuously update systems, continuously evolve with security and risk assessment. Risk assessment and security must become the part of your daily activities. And if it don't, so you will lose some money or disrupt your business in some cases. So when you perform your daily activities, you always have to think: is it secure? It will not increase the security level, or so on. So if you are ISO 27000 certified company or you're following requirements, it doesn't mean that you comply with DORA requirements. But these standards is best way maybe to know, to get how you have to implement some security requirements. So thank you for my side, and if you have some more questions, I will answer it after the whole presentation.
Thanks, Thomas. Very detailed, very, very interesting presentation. Something that I could still follow up with. You just mentioned in the very end the ISO standard, and just before the webinar, we also got the question: to what extent is DORA applicable to third-party service providers for credit institutions? If the critical third-party service provider is an ISO 27001 certified company, what additional requirements will DORA introduce on top of ISO 27001 procedures and policies?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, DORA do not set how you have to implement security requirements. DORA sets that you have to do it some procedures, some steps to ensure security. And ISO 27001 standard or 27002 provides recommendations how you could improve your security. So in one side, if you are certified by ISO 27000 and your all activities is certified, so it shows that you ensure properly your security. But according to DORA, you have to put some steps according to information of regulator, according to reporting some incidents to your service or to your customer. So standard doesn't mean that you are ready and already ready and you don't have to implement everything, but you're in the right way and you have just to check what additional procedures or maybe additional activities and procedures should be implemented.
So a takeaway that certified companies should still check DORA anyways and consider the relevant requirements. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. Now let's go to the part that I assume will get completely lost: IT infrastructure, architecture, and Nerijus. Please go ahead and share your views, and let's master this part as well.
Hello, nice to be here. I'm Nerijus, working in Baltic Amadeus and architect team, and in the IT projects, I'm usually covering cloud and infrastructure architecture topics. So today I'd like to explain how to prepare for DORA with aligned solution architecture and introduce you the concept how to map DORA requirements with infrastructure best practice. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues already explained, but would like to highlight main DORA requirements which I will map with infrastructure elements and best practices. So DORA framework is designed to ensure that operational resilience of financial entities in the ICT-related disruptions. And the key requirements of DORA, which was mentioned earlier, includes ICT risk management, incident reporting, resilience testing, and and it has a goal to safeguard the financial sector from cyber threats and ensure its business continuity. And it's very similar to the best practices of architecture frameworks, which are highlighted for infrastructure and solutions. And most of the clients, these regulations can make the impact in their applications and IT systems. And by combining DORA requirements and architecture practices, we can help to support our IT departments who are trying to ensure that all business requirements are in place together with DORA regulation. So when we are talking about infrastructure, well-architected framework is used to design it. And well-architected framework developed by biggest companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, and our providers, it provides a structured approach for cloud architects to build secure, high-performing, resilient, and efficient infrastructure. And its approach is similar to DORA's requirements. This framework consists of 6 pillars: operational excellence, security, performance, efficiency, reliability, and cost optimization and sustainability. This framework is designed for cloud services, but its best practices are universal and are used on premises, hybrid solutions, or public clouds. And both well-architected framework and DORA shares the core focus on resilience and security. And also both frameworks encourage continuous improvements. And cloud providers has prepared some public documentation about compliances. And if you are using Microsoft solutions, then you could read and follow Microsoft well-architected framework white paper about security and compliance for regulations. It's not limited only for DORA, but also talking about GDPR and our regulations. And from Microsoft side, it's offering to follow these principles. Documentation of overall solution architecture should exist in order to know what is being done in production and what kind of configuration every service has. Another principle is talking about network in the data centers or clouds, and it should be segmented as same as solution components. It is important to prepare isolated network segments for front-end, middle layer, and databases. Zero trust principle is very important in order to save data and solutions, and this can be done by using security controls in the clouds or on premises. Access limitation also saves data and solutions not only from external impact, but also internal team members should be controlled here. Disaster recovery and backup solutions has to be configured for most important data and services, and automated processes together with monitoring and alerting will help to monitor data flows and help for you to understand where data comes from and where it goes to. And alerting, of course, will be used if any issues appears. Amazon with AWS Cloud also has white paper documentation called Securing and Automating Compliances. This documentation is very similar to Microsoft approach. And Amazon provides these kind of principles: automate the collection of compliance information data, implement automated security and compliance check procedures, which is similar to Microsoft approach of security controls, automate remediation of security and compliance issues, which can be done by configuring automatization of alerting and blocking suspicious activities. Secure and automate compliance and multi-account strategies, basically talking about security in a hybrid environment and hybrid clouds. Automate system recovery after failures is about disaster recovery planning and high availability of the systems, and control access and data and implementation of monitoring tools. And here I would like to map architectural pillars together with main DORA requirements. And in the next slides, I will explain more about every infrastructure part, which could be used to support regulation compliances. So operational excellence is critical for ICT risk management, and it involves continuous monitoring, system testing, and managing third-party risk to ensure that our operations run smoothly and efficiently. And this approach helps us to detect and mitigate issues before they impact our services and our customers. Security is actually a cornerstone of DORA compliance, and it's mainly about identifying and incident reporting, ICT risk management, effective information sharing, and strong governance and oversight. And by aligning with these security principles, we ensure that our systems are protected against threats and can be responsive swiftly to the incidents. Performance efficiency, focusing on optimization and optimizing our resources to achieve the best performance possible. And under DORA, this means conducting regular digital operational resilience testing and ICT risk management to ensure that our system can handle loss and maintain high performance. And reliability is about maintaining operational continuity and resilience, especially in critical services. And this involves risk management, resilience testing, and ensuring business continuity. Cost optimization is about managing expenses while maintaining efficiency and effectiveness. And this includes optimizing ICT resources, ensuring business continuity, and implementing strong governance and oversight to control costs. Aligning with this principle helps us to achieve financial efficiency while meeting DORA's compliance requirements. And sustainability is becoming more important in IT and ICT processes at this time. Okay, so with this slide, I want to explain how network infrastructure elements in the data centers or clouds can help to prepare for DORA requirements from IT perspective. So starting with ICT risk management, we focus on two critical aspects: redundancy and monitoring. For redundancy, it's recommended to design network with duplicated network elements, and with existing or new monitoring tools, just start monitoring your network and its components. Next, in the incident reporting requirement from DORA, network segmentation can help isolating solution components such as front ends, middle layer with APIs and databases. And this solution increases security and facilitates the commitment of incidents. And actually, by separating different parts of a system, we can limit the spread of potential breach or malfunction. And lastly, for digital operational resilience testing, we focus on redundancy testing and monitoring testing. So actually, what is designed for ICT risk management should be tested in order to understand if our network is resilient and our monitoring tools work correctly. Storage in the infrastructure architecture is covering all the data storage tools like data storages, databases, file servers, storage accounts, and other which is related with data. So starting with DORA ICT risk management requirements, two key principles are highlighted here. It's data replication and backups. So data replication process involves creating copies of data across different locations and help to protect against data loss. ensures the data remains available even one of the storage account or storage location fails. And of course, regular backups are important for recovering from incidents or data corruptions. Next, for incident reporting, we focus on data integrity, and ensure data integrity means that control the accuracy and consistency of data, because accurate data is very critical for incident reporting, and we need to ensure that the information we report is reliable and trustworthy. And lastly, ICT business continuity from DORA can be supported with replicated storage and backup system, the same as ICT risk management. Compute infrastructure elements are like servers, platforms, application, or services which is used for hosting applications or its code. So scalability is very important for managing risk by handling workloads without failure. And ensuring that our systems can scale up or scale down on demanding helps prevent performance bottlenecks and maintains operational efficiency. Aligning with DORA, its focus on resilience and performance efficiency. And by deploying workloads across servers, load balancing prevents server overloads and reduces the risk of downtimes. So another thing is effective monitoring tools which could be used to track data flow, providing insights into system performance and compliance. And monitoring helps identify some issues earlier and allow for proactive management. And digital operational resilience testing DORA requirement can be supported by failover system testing and scalability testing. And ICT business continuity is supported by this systems configuration, actually. So disaster recovery and failover plan has to be configured and tested as same like load balancing and automated scalability. And this helps to maintain service availability during disruptions at the peak loads. Security controls are integral in the solution architecture at all layers. So it's not only in the infrastructure, but also in the software development lifecycle. And ICT risk management focus on threat detection and access controls. And threat detection is talking mainly about monitoring tools which are configured to monitor all solution and infrastructure elements to identify and mitigate risk in real time. And access controls has to be used to prevent unauthorized access for reducing risk in our systems. ICT asset inventory is reflecting to DORA requirements to identify and manage all assets and services in the company. So the same as infrastructure elements should be known, controlled, and have the owners in the company. And incident reporting in DORA is talking about incident response activities in the infrastructure solutions. And moving to the information sharing, the focus here is on the threat detection collaboration. Sharing the threat intelligence with information with our external partners or stakeholders increase our overall resilience and can improve our defensive strategies and foster a collective approach to the cybersecurity topic. And lastly, governance and oversight requirement can be supported by configuring access control in the solution and prepared incident response plan. And when we are talking about cost optimization and sustainability, it's more about procedures than services. So it is important to implement cost-effective solutions for our ICT operations. This approach not only helps us to manage financial risk effectively, but also ensures that we are investing wisely in our risk management strategies, which help us to stay resilient and operational even in challenging times. So main activities here is just cost optimization in the infrastructure elements and sustainable thinking during the new service deployments. So how to start DORA requirements implementation in the company from the IT perspective, I mean. Here I try to provide some general steps from business architecture perspective. And first of all, it's critical to understand DORA requirements and identify all relevant stakeholders in the company. Then, of course, we need to map business processes which will be impacted with DORA requirements. After that, we define impacted data and business applications, identify if we have required IT tools and capacity to cover and support these requirements. And in the end, we just prepare action plan, how we are planning to implement it. Usually this process, which is being done together with business architect, has an output for IT department. And identified business processes and requirements should be presented to the IT. And IT team evaluates required changes in the system and provide you, what has to be changed in your systems. How it works from IT perspective. So first, by yourself or together with IT partner, perform the assessment of existing solution and technology architecture. It should contain IT processes, SDLC process, and existing solution documentation, which will help to identify gaps in the solution and infrastructure. After IT assessment, we need map assessment results with DORA requirements prepared by business architect. So identifying gaps in the system and infrastructure and selecting missing infrastructure components like backups, monitoring tools, scalability, maybe some security controls, and are required to support DORA compliance. Usually after that, we are preparing implementation plan for developers and engineers, which align with business roadmap, and deploy new infrastructure components, configuration, and updates. And very important thing that we need to deploy it in phases to ensure that minimal disruption for our business operation on our clients will be done. And of course, in the end, we need to retest all the system. So to summarize, aligned infrastructure architecture will support your IT department for DORA requirements and help to track the data. But also, it's very important to mention that all our processes from legal perspective, which was mentioned in the previous presentation, should be in place too. So thank you for your attention. And if you need any help with infrastructure solution preparation for DORA supporting, just contact me or my colleagues and let's discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a closing remark from your side, what's DORA impact on IT policies and solutions? You gave quite a comprehensive view, of whole infrastructure, but if anything to add here.
Yeah, I can comment like this. So, like I mentioned in my presentation, there are lots of controls and services which could be used to support this requirements and regulation. But if your IT policies and solution enables you to ensure a digital operational resilience and proper security level, then there is no impact and you don't need to do anything special. But otherwise, yes, you need to think about how you are planning to support these requirements, from your business perspective. And IT perspective is like some tools or some custom code in the solution could help to get some required data for this regulation to ensure that we have anything in place, and some alerting tools could help us to prevent some accidents in front of it. So it depends what kind of a company has in their infrastructure and solution already enabled and what data we are tracking right now. But yeah, for some of the clients, it should be something changed in the IT processes and solutions. But for someone, maybe they can just reuse the existing data and the existing monitoring tools and alerting tools.
Understood. Thank you very much for sharing. Audience provided quite some questions in the chat, and due to time constraints, as we do not want to dive into our lunchtime, we aimed to answer majority of these. In the meantime, maybe there's someone from the audience that has more questions that were not yet covered, or together with the speakers, we may discuss something that's in live. For instance, one question was referring to, can financial institutions request their ICT service providers, which provide services supporting critical or important functions of the financial institution, to comply with DORA? There were quite some questions about the responsibilities of ICT service providers as well and their compliance, including these providers, SSB. So if we could have some closing remarks by this question. Tomas, Mihkel, Nerijus, Agneta, please share your views.
Yeah, maybe from my side, I just want to mention that all companies have to ensure security of the client's data. So if you don't think that you have to comply with DORA requirements, or you don't know you have comply or not, you implement the requirements and ensure the client's data security.
Thank you, Tomas. Anyone else? Any closing remarks from other questions?
Maybe I will add that if you're a, let's say, ICT service provider or even more a critical ICT service provider, or you aim to become a critical ICT service provider, it would make sense from the, let's say, ICT service provider point of view to absolutely implement all the requirements required by DORA and then be prepared to meet all the other standards and regulations that are relevant as well, because this will create eventually a competitive edge for the ICT service provider. I think it's, let's say, common sense, and then from those that are in the regulatory scope, meaning from the financial institutions side, they should definitely ensure and audit that their service providers are compliant. So it's a two-way street.
Thank you, Mihkel. There was one question that I see we haven't replied in the chat, and I will voice it out. What approach should be used to properly and ambiguously identify, classify critical ICT assets? Obviously, not all ICT assets which are mapped to critical or important business function are critical for continuity of that function. What criteria could be used? Maybe someone can share their views on this.
I can try.
Please do.
First of all, this is a great question, and it would need a further conversation for us to really respond properly to this. As a starting point, I would just suggest to turn to these regulatory technical standards that deal with how to identify and classify. I would expect that this was meant to be critical ICT service providers, but if not, feel free to write us in an email about it. But there is a technical standard on this, and once we share the presentation, you will also have the links to all of these standards that are relevant.
Thanks, Agneta. Tomas, Nerijus, any insights from your side?
No, I think that the best way is to follow Agneta's recommendation. So you also could view from security perspective to evaluate confidentiality, accessibility of information or services, but as as in the question mentioned, how to properly identify the category, it's quite difficult because different service, different activity in different company could have ICT system could have different criticality, because some companies can use paper information and can live without ICT. Other companies no. So we should look firstly to the RTS, and after just check how we could manage the activity if something with ICT system will happen.
Thank you, Tomas. Being cautious of time, we already 4 minutes late. I want to thank all the presenters for their knowledge and for sharing such important message. DORA is not far away, unfortunately, being part of a bigger digital finance package and also already overlapping with some other existing EU regulations. So if you need more consultations, have some questions that are still remaining, please contact our Sorainen team as well as Tomas or Nerijus in terms of security and IT infrastructure. And I would like to inform that we will share our slides as well as the recording and our contacts as well. Thanks everyone for attending. We had pleasure hosting this webinar, and let's keep in touch and see you in our next webinars. Bye.